All right, Lance, how you doing?
I'm great, man. Things are opening back up. I think it's about time not to be taking any political side, but yeah, I'm ready to get back out there into the world, shop places, eat places, go back to the gym. So yeah, man, I'm looking forward to all that.
Yeah.
I think this time it had a lot of people depressed, a lot of people unmotivated.
Oh my gosh, I was in that boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough, man, and hard to make real human connections during this time. But we're making it through. We're getting back to normal.
That's right. That's right. June 15th is when technically everything is supposed to open up. Now, again, there is a supposed second wave that is on its way. Whether or not it will be as bad or whatnot, we don't know. It's all kind of up in the air. That's all right. That's whatever.
Do you believe it's a second wave?
Do I believe that there's a second wave, or there's going to be a second
Yeah,
wave?
that there's going to be a second wave.
I mean, that's what my public health friend said. So, like, he studies this stuff, and he's been a great source of knowledge and support. Shout out to my friend Alejandro. He's been great for that. He said that in the summer, a lot of it will die off just from the heat.
Yeah.
But in the winter, it'll potentially come back. So,
Stronger than ever.
pretty much, yeah.
Do you feel like some of the stuff was exaggerated, though?
Oh, completely. See,
Yeah.
what I've been saying to everyone I've been talking to about it is that the lethality rate is not as high as we've been told. The infection rate is far bigger than we expected. That's why it crossed the world so damn quickly.
Yeah.
But it wasn't killing people as much as they said it would. Older people die from the flu, and very, very young humans die from the flu. That's across the board.
Right.
The problem is, one, we're a society that doesn't really believe in science anymore.
True.
We still think that the world is, I mean, there's been a resurgence of the world being flat. And to my answer, I'm like, I don't even know what to tell you. Like, we've figured this out like thousands of years ago.
Right.
This just shouldn't be a big deal. I get it. If you were to potentially walk across a continent, it would look flat.
Yeah.
But also, if you look at shadows and how it works, it doesn't make any sense. If it was just completely flat, the shadow would work differently.
I think we're a show and prove society. If I can't see it, then it's not real. Or it doesn't exist in a way.
Yeah, I mean, there's credit to that. There's also credit to, like, we already knew the world was round. Like, we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. We don't need to do this again. I don't know why we're... And then vaccinations and all that stuff. But my point is, like, we're a society that doesn't really trust science anymore. And don't get me wrong. It's not to say you shouldn't question scientists. I think that's healthy.
Right.
But just vehemently going against them, I don't think is a great move either.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, so I think if they could have, if this disease had, like, killed some celebrities or, like, athletes, I think we would have taken this a lot more serious.
oh, yeah.
If LeBron James had it
Oof.
and then, like, bit the dust, I think we all would have freaked out.
Oh, my gosh.
It's a weird time in our society.
No, it is. It's incredibly weird. And the last time I've ever heard of quarantine was the Spanish flu.
Right.
100 years ago. 1918-ish. Yeah, it's a weird time. But my point is, like, since we have this disbelief in scientists, like, they have to use the media to scare everybody because that's, like, the only way that they can potentially keep the numbers down. Because, like, places like South Korea, New Zealand, as much as I don't like totalitarian regimes or communism,
Yeah.
and even though China is supposedly the area where it first was contracted, they tell their people, like, you have to do this for the welfare of everybody. It's a health crisis. It's not like a political issue. And they will do it. Because they have no other choice, because they will get killed if they don't. New Zealand is a little different. I don't think they're that severe. I think they're more just, like, progressive.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, yeah, we'll take healthcare stuff. I heard some headline in the States, there was, like, a TikTok craze of people licking toilet lids. And so this one kid got COVID doing that and everything.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, just the basics, don't be an idiot, you know, wash your hands kind of thing. The masks is still very much up for debate. I've been talking to some doctors and they're like, We don't know if it's just really good hygiene in addition to the masks or without the masks.
I could do without the mask. Being someone who has to work
Oh, yeah, every day.
out in these stores and like in
Yeah.
the public, they make you wear the mask all day, 7-8 hour shifts.
Yeah, that's rough.
So I could do without the mask, to be completely honest. And I think it's like you said, man, just practicing common sense. Don't lick toilet bowls. Just, don't put your hands where they shouldn't be long. Wash your hands frequently. I mean, like all the things you learn in elementary school, right? Wash your hands. Yeah, just social distance, do the 6 feet. I think we'll be okay. I think it's Switzerland. I could be wrong, but apparently they didn't quarantine. And they had the same amount of deaths as the rest of the world. So it seems like they just took the hit initially, just letting, people get it.
Oh, okay.
At this point, it seems like, at least in my mindset, you're going to get it. You're going to get it
Right.
some way.
Somehow, somebody. Yeah, that's true.
So I think Switzerland just was like, hey, let's get it over with. I mean, it doesn't sound like the humane thing to do, but I mean, if their deaths are the same as everybody else's,
Then maybe it wasn't a huge deal. But I don't know how big their population
Right.
is, and I don't know if they took other steps. Countries like Switzerland are a very different genetic background too. They're very specific.
Mm.
Whereas here, there's a lot more, 1, economic strife, 2, different genetic backgrounds. So
Right.
like your immunity response is going to be different
Absolutely.
lifestyles, 100%. I read an article on Cracked, and we'll get to comics eventually.
I know this became a.
No, this did. This kind of naturally happened. Wait, this happened with One Punch Man in our last one.
Yeah,
which was not a bad thing.
Yeah, we gotta like warm up to it.
We're warming it up. I read an article on Cracked for Switzerland. They have like more quote unquote assault rifles, machine guns than we do.
Okay.
But they have had maybe 6 people die of
Mm.
machine gun related deaths in like the past couple decades.
Yeah.
Whereas like I remember one time in 2018, we had shootouts every day in 1 week, and it was insane. Absolutely insane across the country.
Really?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And the problem is I don't even remember what it was because it's become an unfortunate part of life in the States. Switzerland is that weird place where, like, if you cross them, they would have more than enough firepower to take us all out.
Okay.
Now, in terms of, like, nukes and everything, I don't know. In terms of missiles, I don't know. But in terms of, like, machine guns, apparently they have a lot. They just have very, very strict gun laws on, like, how you can use them and everything.
Okay.
Irrespective of it being right or wrong. Case in point, the world kind of sucks right now. And it's a weird time to be in your mid to late 20s. It's a weird time to be anything, honestly.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
You think about the people graduating this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was thinking, this is like, we're way off topic, but
Go for it.
like, I don't know if I buy into there's like this graduation podcast or commencement ceremony podcast.
Oh, okay.
Like different celebrities giving these speeches.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was nice, but
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's my initial opinion of it. Is like, this is a nice gesture, but I feel like you're still missing in the like personal touch to it. Okay, John Legend is giving this commencement speech that's not really directed.
It's
to
not directed.
you.
It's directed
like-
to everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So,
which
I mean, I know it would be impossible to be like
it is.
every high school or every college that's graduating to like.
I mean, think about the logistics for that. If they had, so including the U.S. Commonwealth, including part of like the Caribbean islands and stuff like that, I would have to double check if the Caribbean is under our control. I'm very bad about that. I don't know.
This is a podcast where we don't use facts. we use our knowledge on hand.
We only have the power of God, anime, and comic books on our side. So
That's right.
That's all we need and care about. But essentially, whatever Commonwealth the U.S. has, I mean, like, they could have designated a celebrity to do all the graduations for them, or a couple celebrities or something like that. That would be cool, but the logistics on that would be insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely insane.
But absolutely like a shitty time for anybody.
Yeah.
In a situation where you're trying to celebrate anything really, get married or any type of gathering.
Yeah, people are either getting divorced or having babies right now.
Yeah.
Which is, honestly, in the long term, things a good thing.
I mean,
The divorcing part. So if it doesn't work out, it wasn't meant to be.
right.
Yeah.
There's just more women out there for us.
That's right. Or men. It's 2020. It's 2020.
It is that time.
It is 2020. Hashtag stay woke. Even though I hate the term woke, I agree with what it stands for.
Yeah, but most people who say woke is like really asleep.
Yeah.
That's the issue for another
Yeah. So another day. Another podcast.
day. Another podcast.
Or no, just another day.
Yeah.
I'm keeping it open. So yeah, well, what do we do in times of great strife? We read comic books.
That's right.
That's
We read
right.
comic books, reflect on the past.
That's right.
Like the great shows of our youth.
That's right. And going back to our shows of the youth, thank you for a great lead-in, Lance. Let's go back into the late 90s, early millennium, where Cartoon Network, aside from our Toonami broadcast, was also very influential for me in terms of quote-unquote nerdiness. I tell people usually that, like, I'm into anime and stuff like that, because that is a little different than saying, I'm into cartoons.
Yeah.
Because if I say I'm into cartoons, I sound like a man-child who's never leaving his basement.
Who've never grown up.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But I've watched a lot more cartoons than I probably did anime. Now I'm probably watching more anime than I do cartoons. So it kind of flipped, but that's just how it is. And it might change in the future. A bunch that we both used to watch, a couple shows in general, are going to be on the DC side for today. We might flow into other stuff, but for today we'll stay on the DC side. So Cartoon Network is the same ownership as WB. For those kids that don't know, now it's called the CW. And they are owned by DC Comics as well. Or they also own DC Comics. Which is kind of bullshit because they own Mortal Kombat too. And they should totally have Neo as one of the playable characters in the DLC for Mortal Kombat.
For Mortal Kombat.
But it's so bullshit that he's not there. I would love to have a fight with him and Agent Smith just for myself. That would be fun.
Yeah, that's the podcast for another day.
That is a podcast for another day.
The characters Mortal Kombat should use.
Because they own them and everything.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. To be fair, it's not mine. One of my old college roommates, who I used to refer to as comic book nerd guy, because that's who he was all the time. He just had random facts for everything.
I feel like every comic book nerd guy.
He is.
Have a random fact for you.
Oh yeah, tremendously. Yeah, so to begin, it really started getting kicked off with, I believe, Batman the Animated Series. So right out of the gate, you got classic stars like Kevin Conroy.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Star Wars alum Mark Hamill, who played the Joker. And I didn't know he played the Joker until I was maybe 8 years from seeing the show. I always thought it was just a guy who did really well.
I'll get the voice really well.
Yeah, and then it turns out to be like, that dude?
Like, when you're younger, you just never pay attention to it, so like, you would like see the credits or you like see Mark Hamill, and I just never put it together because I was like, Luke Skywalker.
The dude that carries a lightsaber.
Yeah, he's Luke Skywalker. Like, I never thought of him as an actor who could do anything else.
Yeah. It was. And also, one of my close friends who's really into Star Wars talks about how they had a radio show called the Star Wars Radio Show, which came up after the movies came out, and he was called back to do that. So that's where he had kind of his first dose of a voice actor in the first place.
Okay.
So I thought that was cool. He's cemented as the role of the Joker. And then also did Firelord Ozai. If everyone's having a resurgence of The Last Airbender.
Yeah,
you should also know that
Netflix.
Right, that's right. Thank you, Netflix. It's still in like the top 10 after almost 3 weeks of being out, which is insane.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to the earlier point, right? Like, during this time, you go to the things you know.
Yeah, it's
nostalgia.
true.
I don't know. I think you look at those shows for, like, the better times.
Yeah.
Definitely Batman had a lot of moments in its, like, animated run. Yeah, like an episode that stuck out to me.
Yeah, I mean, right after that, I got one for you. It's in the first season, and I own the first couple seasons on DVD. I stopped collecting them because I realized there was, Batman the Animated Series, and then The Adventures of Batman and Robin, and then like they kind of go on and on.
Yeah.
And it's a huge collection. It's a huge collection. And so I was like, I'll just hold off for now. And so the one that really sticks out to me, that's because like the way the intro starts is like, when I was watching a documentary, they were talking about how it's very universal because anyone can watch this intro and know what's going on. They don't have to speak English. They can just, which I thought was interesting because it's all just music and noir kind of style, but it's very transferable, which I thought was very interesting. The one that episode kind of sticks out to me is where, and he just died a couple of years ago, Adam West comes on. He plays the Grey Ghost, who is the inspiration for Batman when he was a kid. The classic, the classic scene where he comes out of the theater from seeing Grey Ghost.
Yeah,
that was the character that Adam West played in the episode, and it's kind of cool to see Batman kind of fanboy over his idol, essentially. And in the episode, he's like a struggling. It actually mirrors Adam West's life a little too close to home sometimes, because it does show that he's like struggling and washed up actor trying to find work, but everyone only just wants him to do the Grey Ghost stuff, and he's selling signed copies of his original show just to make rent and everything. And there's crime that happens, and he and Batman team up for it. And I thought it was a really cool episode because not only do they do that there, but then Adam West then shows up in Kim Possible as a character that Ron Stoppable emulates. So they team up in that, which is also a kind of a tongue-in-cheek reference because the guy who voices Ron Stoppable is Will Friedle, who also voices Terry McGinnis in Batman Beyond.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that was one episode that for sure kind of was like, oh wow, this has a beautiful lineage of voice acting.
Dropping those hidden nerd gems right there.
That's right, man. You got to dig for them. It's like when you got a bunch of boogers in your nose, you just got to dig for them, and then you'll get them eventually. You just got to use some saline, use your finger. It's all good.
I think for me, and I was just kind of researching here. I do remember like being a comic book fan, but not really knowing too much about Batman's rogue gallery. So like one thing that stuck out to me, one episode was like the introduction of Mr. Freeze.
Oh, that's a beautiful one.
Yeah. I mean, there was like a lot of depth to that character in general, just with like his wife, his background.
He's an anti-hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, at least for me, that's kind of like the first introduction of an anti-hero. Yeah. In a cartoon. It was really interesting to see, and really powerful villain too.
Very much.
Batman.
Very much.
Good foil.
Plus that suit was just like, it should be goofy.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it just scares you.
That's the thing about that show, but kind of like a lot of the characters and I guess the way the art style portrayed it, was kind of like scary in a way. I do remember at a time, like, there was like certain episodes I was like, this is a little too late to watch this, and like,
yeah, no, like they did not.
Away.
They kind of took the approach that a lot of, people always laugh at. You probably had this too. They always laugh at me whenever I, if they find out I watch anime and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, I get it. Like there are weird people that watch anime. Like, anime is weird. I'll be the first person to fucking admit it. I'm not going to shy away from that point at all. But they're like, oh, you watch cartoons, and I'm like, I mean, yeah, it is a cartoon. It's a Japanese cartoon, but they don't draw it necessarily. It's not really done and produced for children necessarily.
Right.
Like, they still cover really adult themes. I mean, Yu Yu Hakusho is a great example of that. What it means to be an adolescent, what it means to deal with life and death. That's definitely there. Now, of course, is it goofy? Hell yes.
Yeah.
Of course it's goofy. Just look at Lord Koenma and go from there. But yeah, they didn't do that with this series. They made sure to do what they do in some Japanese cartoons or anime, and they did it in terms of like adults and kids could get something from it, and there was an adult tone of the entirety of the show. Won a bunch of Emmys too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think another episode that just stuck out to me was when Robin struck out on his own.
Yeah.
When Batman had their fight.
Change.
Yeah. I mean, looking back on it, that probably was like a coming of age.
Very much so. He's actually my favorite Robin.
Dick Grayson?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
he doesn't have to be your favorite, too.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I think for a long time he was, and I think he is, but I think for me, he does Nightwing. I think, when I got to the age where I was really heavy into collecting comic books, he was Nightwing.
Oh, okay.
And so it was like, that's what more I associate his identity with now.
Than being the first Robin.
Well, I feel like he's always going to have that title. Probably as, movies keep getting rebooted and TV shows keep getting rebooted, we'll keep seeing iterations of him. But I don't think Jason Todd got his due as Robin.
No, he really didn't.
He didn't get the chance.
Oh, God, he did not get the chance. Did not get the chance.
I think,
for those that don't know, he gets beat by the Joker savagely, then gets killed in an explosion, then gets brought back from the dead, and then becomes basically one of the most famous anti-heroes in DC history.
All history. And then, poses the greatest question known to man. Why not him?
I understand Riddler, I understand Penguin, I even understand Mr. Freeze.
Right.
But why not this guy?
Right.
Yeah. Why not the Joker?
And I think even with that question, it's like...
They don't answer it.
Yeah. There's no answer for it. I don't think he ever got a due.
He really didn't, and he got more... only in the movie Under the Red Hood do they bring that up. He's mentioned in a whole bunch of other places, but they haven't really done, a solid thing for him.
Was he even, in the animated series? Or
no.
did we just kind of
No, he wasn't.
Black out? Yeah, that's the dark thing about that story so much is they black it out and then they go straight to Tim Drake, who I think...
Yeah. He's the best detective.
Yeah, he's the best detective, and I think he's the best Robin.
Yeah.
Because he just he's defined by that role. At least to me. My favorite has to be Damian. Just because I when they introduced the character, I thought it was kind of goofy, but then reading his story.
He actually has a pretty cool story.
Yeah, his story is really cool. They introduce him as a badass who can hold his own at such a young age.
But he bites off more than he can chew at the same time.
Absolutely. And then more recent movies have shown that at the end of the day he's still a kid who needs his dad and he's just fighting for attention. But
which I think is kind of cute. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think personally right now Damian is my favorite. Yeah, that's just how I break down the Robins. I know there's been other Robins.
Yeah, there's been a handful.
I'll stick on the topic of the animated series and who we've seen. So we've only seen, sidekick wise.
There's two of them.
Just two, Dick Grayson, Tim Drake, and then Batgirl.
Yeah, Barbara.
Yeah.
Barbara Gordon, the commissioner's daughter, comes after there. Yeah, it just reminded me, there's an episode where she's fighting crime with Batman and Batgirl.
Mm.
And she gets kicked off a rooftop and falls on Gordon's car.
Yeah.
So she immediately dies. And Gordon gets out. He's like, oh no, Batgirl. And then the mask falls off and then he's just kind of frozen there.
Yeah.
And they apparently were going to have that as the episode. And they eventually were like, this is too dark. Even we can't do this. And they changed it and made it so that someone was trying to either mess with Bruce's head or the commissioner's head. I don't remember who the villain was. I don't remember anything like that. But they definitely were not afraid to go certain places with the show. Definitely go and keep a very dark tone with it and what it means to do that. I do want to talk about the Robins before we go further, though.
Okay.
Because I find the Robins to be very, very interesting. It doesn't necessarily have to stay within the animated shows. We're kind of just using that as a base. So Nightwing is my favorite because he's able to go out on his own.
Yeah.
And he's not beholden to fate. And I've been reading his comics quite a bit, like the Court of Owls and whatnot. He actually is, not to give too many spoilers, but you find out that he is actually from the circus, and specifically those who protect the elite in Gotham have these zombie... You read?
Yeah.
The Court of Owls?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Fantastic. Because I haven't met many people who have read it, which I find
it's good.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I think that was one of the better, newer Batman stories for sure.
Right.
It's very interesting how we've had years of Batman history.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like, we're going to introduce these characters who moved in the shadows to kind of shape everything.
Right.
So, that was interesting. But I think they executed it pretty well.
I think they did, and I liked you're talking about the DC movies, the animated movies that they're done recently, right?
Yeah, I did see the movies.
Okay.
The Quarter Hour movie. I think the comics were way better done.
Oh yeah, they're always going to be better because you can just put more in them.
Yeah,
and they were better done.
And I just think you have like hundreds of years, well, maybe 100 years of Batman comics, right?
1939.
1939?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you have like that much history and you told that many stories, it's always somebody, who's like, I know everything about this character.
Yeah.
I know his complete history. I know how his parents died. I know who killed his parents. But then like for them to, you think but then like here comes this secret organization
that's been there the whole time.
Who've been there the whole time. Who's like, were trying to get Thomas Wayne to do their bidding. Like, he wouldn't play ball. Mm-hmm. And so, like, they're really behind the deaths. Even with them being, like, influencing Dick Grayson, his parents, before that whole Batman and him interaction.
Yeah.
So, that was really cool. And I think it can be hit or miss sometimes. And I think that was definitely, like, a hit. Like,
yeah.
I don't think they dropped the ball with it at all.
No, not at all. And there's even the I don't know if you ever played the Telltale series.
Yeah.
They did a Batman one where he looks like Sterling Archer. And it's hilarious because I played it at my friend's place. Shout out to Joe Kircher. As you're playing it, it actually adds so much more depth to the story that's already there. Yeah. We're always told that Bruce's parents were like white knights, wonderful people. But how the hell did they have that much money back then in such a corrupt Gotham?
Right.
It's impossible for them to be completely clean, quote unquote.
Yeah.
As the game is played further, you find out not only were they invested with crime, but they were buddies with Carmine Falcone. Yeah. Who was like the old guard of mafia in Gotham and reigned Gotham for years. In fact, even in the comics, there's still a presence. Like, he loses a lot of control, but there's still a presence there.
Right.
They finally show him coming from a place of moral ambiguity instead of just his parents always being awesome and wonderful, which I thought was really cool. I'm like, that works to what we've known.
Right.
Instead of just being like, he was an alien. And the whole time. And exactly, right? It's like, doesn't make any sense. I thought it was interesting him, Bruce having a younger brother. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Potentially, and then him potentially being the lead talent for all of them. Yeah, there's some good stuff there. And it's cool to see, like even the video games, they followed the animated series actually pretty well. They even got a lot of the same voice actors.
Yeah. So the Arkham Asylum series.
Arkham Asylum, Arkham
Yeah.
City, and Arkham Knight.
And I think that's cool too, because I don't think they meant to do it, but I think a lot of these things, when you take the voice actors and you take these stories, especially with the animated series, so you took them from the animated series and then gave them another show, and then we know later on, same voice actors voiced in Justice League. Right. And maybe they didn't mean for those shows to be interconnected initially. Yeah. But then they become interconnected. You accept them as the same universe. And then I think with the video games, at least, when it's voiced by Kevin Conroy, you're like,
this makes sense.
I can see this in that same universe.
It's not someone else you have to get used to. It's like, even if it's not the same lore, right? They say a lot of games are spiritual successors to this and that. Fist of the North Star, if it had a spiritual successor, it would be JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Yeah. I mean, just look at the art style for him.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, it's cool to have that kind of feature too. And in fact, they just did the Supergirl series where she jumps through different crossovers.
The crossover, we were just talking about this.
Yeah, we were just talking about
Crisis on Infinite
Earths, I think. And then she joins up with Katie Kane. Mm. But it's a Katie Kane from a different universe.
Well,
and her cousin Bruce is actually still around, and he became far more dark than ever.
Twisted, yeah.
Yeah. It's Kevin Conroy.
Yeah.
And he's wearing an exoskeleton because of years of just abusing his body to fight crime.
Yeah. They said that was based off the Kingdom Come Batman from the comics.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah.
I have not read it, though.
That's a good read.
Okay.
But, yeah, I mean, if they...
Oh, wait, I have. That's the one where, like, Superman has a daughter with Wonder Woman?
Yeah.
Okay, then I have read that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What that was missing was taking a step further was, like, Mark Hamill as a Joker, personally, for me.
Yeah. He's physically has a lot of issues, I know, from a car accident, so I don't think he could have done it.
He could have done it, yeah.
He's gaining a significant amount of weight. I actually met Kevin Conroy.
Kevin Conroy?
Yeah. He, dude is in very good shape. He is a biker.
He looks like...
He has a Lance Armstrong kind of body. Like, he's just kind of all cardiovascular. He's super skinny. Veiny. Doubly veiny. But yeah, I really liked how they did that. What other kind of episodes do you remember?
Oh, off the top of my head, I can't really... I just remember the death of a lot of the characters that shows kind of miss today, even with the villains. We got a brief glimpse of Joker's past when he was playing his origin as a comedian.
Yeah.
We got Harley Quinn. This was the first debut of Harley Quinn.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I thought she was a comic character because I only watched the show as a kid. And then one of my buddies tells me, "Oh no, they made her for the show," and I'm like,
wow. And she just took off like a rocket.
My God.
Later on in life though, which is kind of weird.
It is,
but so
the DC show of her, phenomenal.
It is a good show.
You watch it too?
It is. I'm on season 1. Man, it's good. I'm surprised on how good it is.
Plus, Ron Funches kills it as King Shark.
Yeah,
I love him on that.
He's great. The guy who does Clayface, and I was actually going to bring him up.
He's so dark in the animated series.
In the animated series, he's so dark, but then it's you sympathize with the character, his origins and how he became and how he just want to be normal sometimes.
Yeah, he just had an unfortunate car accident and his face got completely trashed.
You want to know the villain in Batman who really freaked me out, and then the villain in the Superman anime series that
we can go right to that.
But for the Batman, the one that freaked me out was the dude with the puppet. For some reason,
that dude was creepy, man.
Yeah,
you're talking about Scarface, right?
Was that his name?
I think so.
The puppet name was Scarface, and then he had the
and you don't know who's really controlling who. And that was really creepy. I remember watching it as a kid and being like, "What is going on?
Right?
Why am I scared for some reason? Why am I so confused about what's going on?"
But eventually,
and they kind of leave it up in the air. They don't really answer it.
Who's the dummy and who's controlling who?
Yeah.
Wasn't he a doctor or something before he became a ventriloquist or something like that?
Of a sort. I mean, that sounds like the Batman rhythm.
Yeah.
That's usually how it works.
It's either you were a smart doctor.
Well accomplished.
Yeah, well accomplished. Lawyer. Scientist.
Attorney, anything.
And then just
Gotham and you become insane.
Just that city, man. That's crazy.
If any city besides Game of Thrones, Game of Thrones and Gotham just need free mental health for everybody.
Free mental, yeah.
Oh my God,
Gotham has never had a come up.
No, it died with Bruce's parents. I feel in a lot of ways.
They never caught a break.
No, they haven't. I thought it was interesting because I saw the third movie with Christian Bale, so The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
Fun fact: the prison cell is shot in India. Fun fact.
There you go.
Yeah. That's all we get. So the part where they cordon out the city and everything, that's based on one of the comics.
Okay.
And I didn't know that until I read it, and I'm like, they lifted so much of the movie from that comic, and it was not Batman for all seasons, but we're not going to deal with facts in this podcast.
Yeah.
So we're just going to move on. But yeah, it was really good. And they talk about Gotham no longer being a part of the United States. And why would you do that? And they even bring it up later on Harley Quinn. So stay tuned.
Okay.
Yeah. And they do it in the best way, too. Another thing about Harley Quinn, I'm sad that Kaylee Cuoco, who's the executive producer, she's been a quiet nerd this whole time. Like, aside from Big Bang Theory and everything.
Yeah.
Like, this means that she's been a huge Batman fan for a long-ass time.
Yeah. I mean...
Which I think is really cool.
I think it was hard for anybody, really, to grow up not knowing Batman. I feel like there's 3 superheroes everybody know. Regardless if you're a nerd or not.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man.
That is very true. Like, no one knows who Mr. Miracle is.
Yeah.
But they will definitely know those 3.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, only, like, within... How long have the Marvel movies been out? Like, 12 years?
2008, so 12 years, yeah.
12 years that, like, people know who Iron Man is. Like, before, nobody... Now he's probably, like...
The most famous.
Probably top 5 hero.
People probably knew about Thor from mythology, but maybe not.
Not on, like, on the level of superhero. Like,
yeah.
Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man were, like, unchallenged.
That is true. Now there's almost too much.
Yeah, now there's a lot of options.
Yeah. And
I think it's, like, so funny, at least in the Batman vs. Superman movie, Superman can see Gotham, like, right across the bay. It's like they're in the way they portray that movie is like they're in the same fucking city.
Yeah.
Like,
they're
it's like St. Louis, St. Charles. It's like right across the bridge. It's like, Superman, why don't you go help those people? Fuck those guys. I'm not worried about that.
There's too much crime out there.
Right. It's too much for me. And I could do anything.
Yeah.
But I think that was where I was going to lead it to, was like the stark contrast in like shows was like Superman and like Batman show was like, Batman show was so dark. It was like always at nighttime.
Yeah.
You know, that was when all the villains operated. Superman was like fighting villains
in broad daylight.
In broad daylight. And it's like funny to me thinking about it. It's like over there they're living in poverty and like scared out of their mind that someone's going to blow them up. But then like in Metropolis is like everybody's destroyed. It gets destroyed, but everybody's like so happy and full of hope. Like, no.
It took Superman being possessed by Darkseid for them to be like, oh yeah, we can't trust you anymore. And then they got over that too.
Oh yeah.
Like really, or at least in the way that they showed in the show, a lot easier than you'd expect. So when I was a kid, I loved watching Superman, the animated series. Because they always showed Kryptonian technology. There was always these like wacky, honestly the villains were pretty scary too. Parasite was terrifying.
I was like...
The blue dude, the purple dude?
Yeah. There was 2 villains I would give scary to. One, okay, so the second one who was like probably the second scariest to me was Metallo.
Oh, Metallo was dope. I loved him.
I liked Metallo, but then it was like...
He is terrifying.
I think originally like, his skin was ripping off, like he was trying to use the fake human skin.
He's like, I can't feel anything anymore. And he like forcibly makes out with Lois Lane. He's like, I don't feel anything. And I'm like, oh God, this is... I remember watching this as a kid, I'm like, am I supposed to be watching this now?
Right. This dude is deranged. But for me, at least, the scariest villain was like Toyman.
Oh, yeah. You never see his actual face?
Yeah.
Yeah,
the Toyman... Oh, no. Like, Toyman was like this actual, like, toy. Like, this small doll man.
Yeah.
He was just weird, but he always, like, I guess, came up with gadgets to fight Superman. And, like, Superman just always gets his ass kicked.
Yeah.
Like, every fight. I think it's funny later on, like, when we watch, like, Justice League and it's connecting all the dots. And it's like, he's fighting Darkseid.
Yeah.
And he's showing his real strength, and he's like...
He's not holding back.
Right, I'm not holding back.
Yeah, you're talking about the last 2 episodes. And I thought that episode... I actually really like those clips, because he's like, I have to walk around like the entire world is made of cardboard. And you just see these shockwaves. It's almost looking like you're watching a fight in DBZ.
Yeah.
Because he's just he's like, I'm fucking done. Like, I'm not holding back because I'm sick and tired of your fucking bullshit, Darkseid. I'm tired of you always coming to Earth and trying to enslave people or wipe me. And it's really cool to see him just kind of let loose on Darkseid. There's a whole comic book series that I have called Injustice where multi-universe theory, so like there's different dimensions and he kills the Joker, he goes nuts because the Joker kills Lois Lane and his unborn child.
Right.
To add insult to injury. Or pour salt in the wound as such. And so then he just becomes a dictator for the entire planet.
Yeah.
I need to double check, but I think he kills or comes close to killing Darkseid. Or no, he makes a deal with Darkseid. He's like, I will kill you, or you just stay on your own side of Apocalypse and everything. So he doesn't take any prisoners in his approach anymore. I always thought the Superman show was so much more lighthearted, and a lot more fun, a lot more fun to watch.
It was very nice to see that, I guess, a play off of each other. And I think at even one point, they had the shows connected.
Yeah.
Where it was like, you're going to watch, this Batman episode, then you're going to watch this Superman episode. Kind of balance it out.
Yeah. There's one where he comes to Metropolis.
Yeah.
And he's dating Lois Lane, and Clark gets all like huffy and puffy about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I would definitely down for that crossover. Like, I'm down for any crossover, but that was well executed. And then, like, even, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was in Batman, but they did, like, this crossover where it was, like, Superman with Batman.
Yeah, so Batman's injured. I think they played on the whole, like, he was recovering from his fight with Bane.
Yeah.
And his back was broken. Sorry, the reason I'm laughing is because they parody that so much now. And it's like, everywhere you go, it's like, I broke the back! And so he's actually teaming up to Tim Drake's Robin.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm tired of holding back. And then he does it in a way that makes him look like he's not superpowered. But he
picks up Bane and like
just like chucks him. Like kicks him around like nothing. And Robin just goes like, he's been working out. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
It's great, yeah. But another good thing from the Superman show was like another crossover when he had to race with the Flash.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's like that was so important because it's like
they high five each other and just go boom.
And it's like you don't get a winner.
No.
Like you never do. But you kind of assume Flash is, I guess, faster.
So canonically, from what I've heard, since Flash has access to the Speed Force and he specializes in speed as his superpower, he is faster.
I've heard that Superman can slightly tap into it.
Yeah. Again, the thing with Superman is like he's a god who lives amongst mortals, so he can almost do anything.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he did.
I just think for me, like I was a Superman fanboy in the way that like, I don't know, it was weird for me because it's like everybody believes Batman can beat anybody, but it's like, no, Superman, like, if he really wanted to,
he could destroy everybody.
And I think
hell, he takes on the Lantern Corps in the Injustice series, and is successful for a while.
And even in one of the comics I have, Infinite Crisis, there's this like crazy Superboy Prime.
Yeah,
and
he's so like, touch everything.
Yeah, he's so powerful that he takes on the Green Lantern Corps, and then like even later on in future series, he's still fighting them. I think he's immune to kryptonite.
Something like that.
Yeah. So he's so powerful. With Superman, like, even still, like, they take, to further that, like, with the Justice League movie, when Superman is, like, taking on the entire Justice League and the Flash thinks he's got him. Right. He starts moving nearly at the same speed.
Are you talking about the one where Lex Luthor combines with Brainiac?
No, I was talking about the live action movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Superman was just lighthearted. I wouldn't say his villains were better.
I love watching Lex Luthor, though. Like, that dude is just suave as a motherfucker.
I just did not...
You love to hate him.
Yeah, he was a good villain in that respect.
Yeah.
And I think him teaming up with the Joker was always funny.
Oh, yeah. They try to do that.
Yeah.
It just epically fails.
Right, like, he just annoys Lex so much. But...
They try to do the Legion of Doom thing there. I love how Batman is like apprehended, chained, and he still finds a way to get out just from like seducing Cheetah.
Yeah.
And then like no one takes off his mask, no one does anything. So they do it. There's no logic in it at all. Like, if a 28-year-old who's running a podcast can figure that out, like, you guys can do this. Hardened, villains can do that, too.
I think that's the thing with Batman, too. Like, just figuring out his identity is, like, always a thing. I think it's, like, a duh moment for us, because we've
seen it.
Over the year, we've seen it and kind of enforced it in our head, like, of course the rich guy with all this money is Batman. The guy who disappears from the city and comes back and coincidentally
is in like tremendously good shape.
In great shape, and then like coincidentally a dude with a bat dressed up as a bat shows up. So I don't know.
They call BS on that. Did you ever watch College Humor back in the day?
Yeah.
They call bullshit on that completely. Pete Holmes has he takes no shit from Batman, so he has all these videos of just making fun of Batman, and he's like, "Commissioner, how are you doing?" He's like, "I'm great, Bruce. How are you?" He's like, "My name isn't Bruce. It's Batman." He's like, "No, you're totally Bruce. You've been gone for years. You come back in incredibly good shape, and Batman shows up at the same time. You're totally Bruce Wayne." He's like, "No." There's a whole bunch of videos. Wow, it's so good. So good. Pete Holmes is a legend. There's an episode in Justice League where Lex uses Gorilla Grodd's like helmet to switch bodies with somebody. And he tries to do it with like Superman, but he ends up doing it to the Flash. And so the Flash runs in Lex Luthor's body for a while.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny just to then be at the Legion of Doom headquarters, and like he gets out of the stall and he's just like looking at the mirror, and Flash is like, "I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Like, this is crazy."
Oh, I remember that. And then Lex like takes off Flash's mask, like, "Now I'll see who you are."
And he's like, "I have no idea what this is." Yeah. And there's another villain who walks out of the stall as they're leaving, and he goes like, "Lex," he's like, "What? Like, aren't you gonna wash your hands?" He's like, "No. Because I'm a super villain." Like, it was the small things in that episode that really got me. Oh, man. Yeah, so, like, I love the Superman show because you got to see a lot of Kryptonian tech being used in, like, the Fortress of Solitude. He befriends a scientist who, like, he shows all, like, the stuff he saved across the universe. You get to see the Phantom Zone blaster as well.
Did we ever get General Zod episodes?
We don't. We get the next best thing, which is apparently two Kryptonians who escape and then realize that they're on Earth and that they have powers, and so they run havoc for a while.
Yeah.
And they eventually get sent back to the Phantom Zone.
Right.
Initially, they were from the Phantom Zone in the first place. There's another comic called All-Star Superman.
Yeah.
Where they kind of parody that.
Okay.
Really, really good read. Really, really good movie. I have both. Really, really worth your time because it really shows like what would happen if Superman had mortality, and so I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah,
there's a lot of weird stories in it too, but it's good. Yeah. So, what else stood out for you from Superman the animated series?
For me, I think that was also the first time Supergirl stood out. In a way.
Good call. Kara Zor-El.
Yeah. I think she stood out. I think she had some moments. I remember an episode where they did the girl power team up. Her and Batgirl got together.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they fought Livewire and Poison Ivy or something.
I believe so. And I think Harvey Bullock from the animated series from Batman showed up too.
Yeah.
Yeah, as like he's like, "Good job, girls. You did all right," and everything, and then took credit for it, and because that's what Bullock does. Yeah, that was fun. It's good to see her come back in like Justice League and everything.
Yeah, and have like a more prominent role.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Kara Zor-El, cousin of Superman. Thought that was cool. But before we go to Justice League, we got to talk about one of the best characters that we got to see as an original one that we grew up with. And I'm talking about Virgil Hawkins.
Yeah.
Static Shock was one of the best shows on the legendary WB11.
Yeah.
Filled with other shows like Jackie Chan Adventures, Max Steel, Men in Black. But for now, we're going to keep it on Static Shock.
Yeah. I mean, in a lot of ways, at least for me, being African American male, I mean, he kind of led that network, at least for me, and was like became one of my favorite heroes just from him not having like a huge comic book background, like not a lot of source material. They did a lot of original things with that show. And I guess if it is in the same vein of Batman and the Superman show, I think it did a nice mix of combining the two. Like there was a lot of lighthearted humor that you would find in the Superman show, and then like a lot of dark tones or like issue subjects that you find. And then it was just like really grounded. He was a teenager, of course, and he was dealing with a lot of like real life African American, especially issues, you know, with racism, gangs, violence.
Yeah, you hit on everything. Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 100%. Yeah, it was great for me because, number one, it was cool to see a never none white superhero to kind of have the screen.
Yeah.
For Asian people, we don't get a whole lot. I mean,
unfortunately.
You could say the heroes for us are the doctors that we play in.
Everything.
But like that's all we get.
Yeah.
And like before that it was cab drivers, so I'm like, okay, it was a move up, don't get me wrong.
Right, you were Kanto to the Green Hornet.
Pretty much. It's interesting because especially for South Asian people, like we don't really get a whole lot of superheroes. In fact, I don't know any. And so it was cool to see Static, to see Virgil Hawkins out there. I love how the show, I agree with you 100%, like they did a great job of dealing with really hard issues and then also being like super light-hearted because he's just kind of chilling. One of my friends made a point. You don't really see him out at night as often because he's a teenager. He's gonna patrol like after school and on the weekends if he doesn't have homework.
Exactly.
And besides that, like, I mean, just think about like he uses his head. He uses science to his advantage. He learns how to make a levitating disc so he could fly around the place.
Yeah.
They had a cool soundtrack. Like just that alone, I remember watching as a kid and just like rocking out to that because it was great. The intros for Batman and Superman were some of my favorites. The intro for Static Shock by Lil Bow Wow.
Yeah.
He shows up and does the final version of it and kills it.
Yeah.
Like it's a really, really good intro. I love how Richie's dad episode.
Yeah. That was a powerful one.
It was very powerful. I was very surprised that they did that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they did, but it was really surprising.
I think now it's funny, like, right? Like with shows like these, like now you can go back and like really watch them and like really get an appreciation for what they were talking about. Like with that Richie dad episode, like racism. And then like even with the gun violence episode, that was a big one. And I think
losing his mom. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, well, not even him, but like the kid who brought the gun to school, and he has to prove himself, kind of thing. Yeah, and then
because he stood up to
Richie. I think got shot in the leg.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
you're talking about like that episode where the kid gets bullied upon so much that he brings a gun. I think Virgil's able to deflect it, but he ricochets and it hits his leg. Yeah. And they actually show like a real. I think he reads off a bunch of statistics about like school shootings, and they show like almost a montage, animated wise, of like people getting arrested for getting bullied, and everything. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, definitely. His villains,
E-Bomb was the scariest.
E-Bomb was the scariest guy because he could manipulate those shadows.
Come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
That was the same dude that gave him the gun, right?
Was it? I always felt like, and I could be completely wrong and misremembering the show, but I always felt like his true identity was always a mystery, but I could be wrong.
I don't remember.
But you could be right. I know we got Hot Streak in the first episode.
What a douche.
Yeah, he just kind of was like the reoccurring beat-up guy after like a while.
Yeah. Like, he was so powerful in the beginning, and then, like, once Static learned how to fight him, he was just kind of a joke.
Season 2 or something. Yeah. He wasn't fucking with them no more.
There's even this one part where he has a cool-ass fire sword.
Yeah.
I remember looking at his hair, and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
I think also, too, like, initially was, like, maybe just, like, season 1 and the first few episodes, if no one ever said anything, like, no one knew it was like DC connected
Yeah.
at all. Like it just kind of existed. But then like when Batman showed up, it was like
Connected finally.
yeah, it connected everything.
So what I heard is like there was initially the character Black Lightning, who's been a DC superhero for years.
Yeah.
They thought he was too heavy to bring for kids, so they made Virgil.
Right.
And then when certain places were bought out and whatnot, they finally officially joined the DC universe. So then they were able to bring in the animated series for that. I think that's what happened. Those 2 episodes were great because you finally get to see, like, he loses the bat tracker and you just see like a hole in his pocket. He's like, oh no, like, because the Batman gives him a tracker to contact him. He's like, I might as well do this. And he just puts it up, up the bat signal in like electricity. And you just see both like Bruce and Robin just like working out. He's like, they're just like lifting. Yeah. Lifting. He's like, you might want to see this, Bruce. He comes out. He's like, what did you do? I thought that was funny.
And in true Batman form, he could take all Thatic's enemies and like
be fine.
Yeah. I think he took on like E-Bond's gang or whatever.
Yeah. He took on Maria. He took on the dude that had the laser hands.
Yeah. True Batman fashion.
Right, because he has everything for everything.
Yeah, and I think another powerful episode, too, was... I think it was, like, in Season 2, like, he started crossing over and meeting a whole bunch of different heroes, but he met this one hero in Africa, and that was, like, a big episode, too.
Yeah,
and then for him...
Anansi?
Yeah. He was, like, the spider.
Yeah.
But then it was, like, for him, that was, like, a big deal because,
part of his heritage.
Yeah, that, and then it was, like, I remember, like, him at the end of it, he was just saying how much he appreciated him because, like, he doesn't see a lot of heroes that look like him.
I forgot about that. That's
true. But then it's like, you're a hero too, but you just don't
realize it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a good episode.
You just reminded me of this other episode where they crossed over with, because the crossovers in Static Shock were probably one of the best parts of the show. Honestly. When he's with Batman and all of a sudden he hopscotches 40 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's Batman Beyond. And so they're like, okay, Cobra has taken the future you hostage. And he's like, I'm still a superhero this time?
Isn't like the whole thing, like their dynamic of Terry, like, I can't believe you're like...
You're that guy.
Yeah, you're like such a big hero.
He doesn't believe that Terry becomes that big of a deal, essentially. Or no, Terry doesn't believe that Virgil becomes that big deal because like he's kind of just a bratty kid. Or like, not bratty, but like bratty, inexperienced.
Like Thatic always had like that Spider-Man appeal in a way.
Yeah.
He's really smart and he'll take fights seriously, but he's the goofball, like he'll crack jokes.
Right. He's still a kid.
Yeah.
Like bratty is the wrong word, but he's still lighthearted.
Right.
As such. And Terry is just as mopey as his mentor.
Well, yeah. Right. So, he's a test tube baby. Spoilers.
Yes, spoilers. Hashtag spoilers. I was about to say, as his old man, I'm like, maybe I should let it go, but fuck it. We'll go for it. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it. Okay.
Years later.
It has been, there's plenty of time to watch this show. That's very true. Fuck it. We're going to do spoilers. We're doing it live. Yeah, I thought that was cool because you get to see he's like in this encased eggshell and they break him out eventually.
Yeah.
He's like, I have so many questions. I don't know what to do. And then he gives him this sage advice. And I think it's the same voice actor.
Yeah.
I think Phil Lamar does both, the past and future version. He's like, just believe in yourself. You've got it all right inside of you and everything like that, which I think is really cool to see, not only for Virgil, but for people of color who like to know what the future is.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, it was a good episode. And then there's also one where one of his other mentors is Green Lantern.
Yeah.
And he goes rogue, which I thought was an interesting take. They show like Virgil's dad goes like, talks to him. He's like, you got to remember that all your superheroes are people. They're human. They're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And he's right now, luckily you find out that he was being framed as such for all this going on. And he even powers up the lantern ring.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, I'm down.
Yeah. You want to tell that story, sure.
Yeah.
We're missing the greatest crossover in Static Shock history.
Tell me.
when he teamed up with the Backstreet Boys.
Oh my god. I forgot about that.
I think there was like a whole, like, 1 week he teamed up with the Backstreet Boys, and then he teamed up with Shaq.
Oh yeah, he teams up with Shaq. That's right.
Like, oh, so we're just like, so everybody jumping on this bandwagon.
I'm looking this up right now.
Unfortunately, that felt kind of Scooby-Doo-ish. Like, remember when like Scooby-Doo had the show where they just teamed up with everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of felt Scooby-Doo-ish. And it kind of felt like...
Oh yeah, that's the entire... It's everybody's on here. Then there's one where Coolio shows up. That's right. That's right. I remember that. Oh, that's wild. Then Rubber Band Man kind of becomes a good guy.
Oh,
who dates his sister.
Rubber Band Man.
Yeah, which I thought was the weirdest kind of thing, but they made him
But he was a good foil because his electricity didn't work.
He's a conductor.
Yeah.
Yeah, or insulator, sorry.
Yeah.
Like, I shouldn't have taken him seriously, but I did because he was just, exactly what you're saying. He was hard to wrangle. He dates Sharon, his sister, after that, which I thought was really weird. But then we gotta talk about gear.
Oh, when Richie...
Turns out that he becomes a genius.
Yeah, it wasn't that his metahuman power. He was, like, super smart.
Yeah, he's able to make, like, a super smart backpack that he calls Backpack.
Mm.
And you get to find out that he stays gear for decades to come, which I thought was cool. It was a good show.
Definitely was. Talk about the main event.
The Justice League. And Justice League Unlimited. We'll just call it Justice League.
I'll say this. I enjoyed Justice League Unlimited a little bit better. Just because it gave you... Yeah, more characters. Yeah. Just a variety. There was a lot of obscure heroes. To me at the time, like the Green Arrow was like an obscure hero that...
You didn't know about.
You didn't know about, or you just like... I saw him in Smallville. So it was interesting to see him kind of get to the forefront.
And it was a good show. Like they kind of kept the dark tones.
That was the thing about Justice League too. Like initially when they did it, I don't know if it like happened organically or not. That they meant for like the past shows of Superman the animated series and Batman the animated series to be like the background of these shows. Like I don't know.
I don't know either.
They might have been.
It makes sense that they made it part of the show.
It was like a perfect combination in a way. Yeah. And it was just nice to see Batman out of his element. Yeah. Like actually teaming up with people, fighting in broad daylight. And
basically funding their entire expedition. And
absolutely.
The animated series was actually really good. Also, their intro was super majestic. My gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it got me the chance to hear about other characters like The Question or Huntress or Booster Gold.
Booster Gold.
Booster Gold, man. From the future is a complete dipshit.
Yes.
You got me to, I definitely learned about the Amazonian culture. I learned about Atlantean culture.
Yeah, like even as a start of the show, like I didn't know much about Martian Manhunter.
Dude, he's like one of the best characters. Yeah.
Yeah,
and I didn't know about him until the show either. Yeah.
He was like super powerful in a way, but then like there's always somebody who can neutralize him really quick. Though.
Fire.
Yeah, fire, or like some weird mind weapon would always take him out.
Oh yeah, are you talking about the episode where they go to this town and this mutated boy controls everything?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the episode. Yeah, that was a good episode too. I like that episode because you find out that like all the heroes died sacrificing themselves, and from the nuclear fallout, that guy gets all of his abilities. And they say something in that episode that really has stayed with me, especially during like all the uprising that's been going on right now with the protests and whatnot. It's like peace is not just the absence of evil. It's not the quiet of the world. True peace really exists when good people do things. That really resonated with me quietly and makes a lot more sense as I get older. It's harder to do that, but it really has stuck with me. Yeah, it was a cool chance to see a bunch of different characters come on the show. You get to learn about so much lore. It's a very lore heavy show. I love the Thanagarian crossover. So like the full Star-Crossed event. That's when the Thanagarians come in.
Oh, the like Hawkgirl.
Yeah.
Hawkman.
Yeah, Hawkgirl and Hawkman and like their entire movie that goes on there. There's actually this funny ass scene where Martian Manhunter goes like, they're like, well, they're looking for us, but I guess we have to disguise ourselves. After like the Flash goes like, hey man, like I trust you guys and everything, but it's my secret identity. And so Bruce Wayne just goes like, what? Clark Kent, Diana Prince, Wally West, Bruce Wayne. Just unmasks everybody after that. Then to make it even better, there's a part where Diana and Bruce have to run away from the Thanagarian occupation. Yeah. And so they run into this Indian restaurant. And they just quickly give Bruce a turban. And they're like, we're looking for a man and a woman that both have dark hair and brown eyes. And the guy goes, everyone around here has dark hair and brown eyes. And I'm like, oh my God. It was like 30 seconds long. You'll miss it if you don't see it. Dr. Fate got a lot more time. And I was really happy about that. That dude is super cool.
Hawk and Dove got some time as well.
Hawk and Dove did get some time.
I think they even got an episode.
Yeah, they got with the rolling death machines or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What are you looking up?
Just looking up who was all there. I do remember Red Tornado.
Red Tornado. He's pretty cool. He has a lot more screen time in Young Justice.
Yeah, not in the way I kind of wanted him.
Oh, really?
Because I remember, like, in the comics, him being, like, a powerful badass in a way.
Okay.
But, at least in that show, they kind of regulate him to, like, the dude who assigns the missions or...
The babysitter?
Like, yeah.
He is a cool character, though. I really like him. I always have a soft spot for androids who are empathic. Hawkgirl. I like the episode where like they have to stop this really like extra dimensional, almost Cthulhu like god, and I think they even call it Excalibur or something like that. And Dr. Fate's trying to do what he's doing, and then all of a sudden like Hawkgirl comes in and she recites this prayer.
Yeah, and
he's like, "How do you know this?" She's like, "This is a Thanagarian prayer." And I thought that was cool. There's just like small bits of lore that show up in the show. Like that's why you find out that the reason why her people cultivated nth metal technology is because like they wanted everything to thwart off magic. That's why her mace is so important to so many like magic creatures. That's why Dr. Fate, whenever she stays with him, he actually seals away her mace because it'll disrupt his power and everything. And he gives it back to her. But nth metal is actually pretty cool. It's the adamantium metal for DC, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah. Nth metal is pretty fucking important. If you want to stop a magic person, just get some nth metal.
Yeah.
One time I was watching Young Justice and my mom was sitting there. And she's like, well, what is she carrying? And I explained it to her. Like, I'm watching the screen. I'm like, oh, it's just Thanagarians possess a metal called nth metal. It thwarts off magic and everything. And my mom turns to me. She's like, is that real?
Mm-mm.
And I'm like, no. But I said it so straightforward and scientifically. She's like, she almost believed me for a second.
That's a real thing.
Do you remember that episode where Huntress takes out or tries to kill the mobster that kills her family?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay, well, what do you remember from Justice League?
I remember one of the big ones was like, was it the Flash? I'm not sure if like the Flash, always running somewhere and then like, I think he goes through a portal and then ends up in another version of their Earth where like their Flash died and then like they're all evil. And then like, I think eventually they come back to the Flash's original Earth. There's this big old good versus evil battle. That was one I remembered.
That was a huge arc in the show. The arc from the Justice Lords. The Justice League becomes the Justice Lords after a certain point. Superman is tired of Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor becomes president. Superman loses his edge loses his patience because Flash gets killed. Yeah. Luthor becomes president. Superman kills Luthor. Then it causes them to become very fascist. And so they become the justice lords and control crime.
Exactly.
So like they're to the point where like there is no crime. So like, and if anyone does anything, they get lobotomized right away. Like Poison Ivy, the Joker, everybody's lobotomized in Arkham right now, and it's like a fucking paradise. At least it looks like one. The universe Batman is looking, actually is just like very fond of Flash and keeps on like staring at his.
He kind of like reminds him of like his humanity.
In a very big way.
Yeah, I think he's like the only one who like turns like on like the good guys team.
The rest of them.
Like the rest of them.
Yeah. Yeah, it gives him a chance to do that. And then they show up later. They actually call Lex Luthor's help and give him a deal. It's like, we'll expunge your record if you build a Phantom Zone gun and send them there. Or no, build a weapon that can neutralize their power.
Yeah. Essentially, and that happens.
They throw him in jail after that.
Do you also remember the episode with the Mazo? That was such a
epic episode. Oh my gosh. He becomes friends with Dr. Fate after a while.
Does he?
Yeah.
Mazo. I don't even remember how they defeated him finally.
So they didn't. That was the crazy part of that episode. The guy who voiced him was in Star Trek too, oddly enough. Yeah, so he gets everyone's powers. Yeah. Except for Batman's.
But I think he gets his gadgets or something, don't he?
Maybe.
Like he parodies them? Like probably. Maybe just a Batarang or something?
Something like that. That wouldn't surprise me. Although that is how Batman finds out that it's a package deal. Like, so, like, if you get our powers, you also get our weaknesses. So he pulls out kryptonite, and then he starts, like, falling down. Yeah. And then he kind of disappears. Eventually what happens is he asks about his existence, and I think he bothers Lex Luthor for a while. Martian Manhunter gives him his powers, and then you just see him fly away. Yeah. And Martian Manhunter, like, everyone's like, where is he going now? And Manhunter says this really odd thing. He's like, where all gods go. And, like, that's where the episode ends. That's where it ends. It was where it ends, and then, like, okay, because he gets Green Lantern's ring, he gets Hawkgirl's mace, he gets Flash's speed, Superman's strength.
Really invincible.
He's completely invincible. He's like 8 feet tall. Yeah. That was a good episode. And then I think he goes the whole question of, because one of Luthor's doctors, one of his scientists built him. Yeah. Using nanotechnology. And then dies of cigarettes smoking. So, yeah, he was a cool character. I wish we saw more of him, but we never really did.
Yeah, but it was definitely a really good episode.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what about you? Any more episodes stick out?
Oddly enough. Well, one, the Helena Bertinelli episode, because that's where we get to see a lot of The Question.
Okay, yeah.
You get to see one of the first episodes of The Question, where he's kind of like the Rorschach of the entire team, and doesn't really fit in, is very much a gumshoe that everyone finds weird. And he teams up with Bertinelli on some unknown reason to help her find the guy Mangalorean or something like that. He's a weird looking mob boss who killed her father and mother in front of her. He helps her find him, and then when he finds him, he basically talks Helena out of killing him, because he knows if he does, then she'll just turn into him. So she actually gets kicked out of the Justice League, but they stay as kind of an item for a while. Okay. Because when the whole arc with Luthor potentially killing Flash and setting off that whole sideline, Question figures it out and tries to stop it and everything. So I thought that was interesting. Plus, like, that spray he had was super weird and really discombobulating, where you just see, like, nothing but, like, skin on his face. You don't see eyes or anything. Yeah. And then you find out it's actually a spray that he puts on.
Okay, so I didn't even know that.
Yeah, because, like, he actually does have a face. He just does that so that everyone is kind of, like, turned off by him. And they kind of leave him alone. Yeah. Like, when Supergirl is having weird dreams that don't make any sense, you find out that he's been going through her trash. And stuff like that. He's like, yeah, you've been really eating the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. She's like, yeah, wait a minute, how do you know that? That really sticks out to me. Also, but oddly enough, one that I enjoy from time to time, whenever I have seen it, is like the Booster Gold episode. So everyone knows he's from the future.
Mm.
I think in the 31st century, he's a
Yeah.
janitor because he's just a fucking lazy guy. He steals a flight ring and a suit that gives him a decent amount of super strength and invulnerability, as well as like a little robot that follows him around as like a drone. There's this big hazard that's going on. And he joins the Justice League, and they accept him reluctantly because they know if they don't, then it'll just be kind of weird to have in a future superhero just laying around the place.
Yeah.
And so they all know he's kind of a doofus. But the entire episode, he just basically proves himself as a hero instead of doing it for the fame. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
That was a cool episode there. Thanagarian episodes. The Green Lantern Corps episode where John gets framed for murder.
Oh, very early.
Yeah, very early on. You find out about the manhunters that the Guardians made, and they just like threw him away at one point, and they just neglected to tell everyone about them. This show is really lore heavy, very very lore heavy. One thing I do want to point out before I forget is that when they did specifically the Batman animated series, I don't know if they did this for Superman, but nowadays whenever you do voice acting, people can live across the world, across the states, and they'll record, they'll send their lines in, and you're done.
Yeah.
That's done now for the most part. When they did Batman the animated series, they actually had everyone in the same room, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because you get to actually like bounce off each other really, really well. And you get kind of a theatrical presentation as such. The lady in charge of that is a lady named Andrea Romano. And she has shown up in like this show. I think she even showed up in... Yeah, she showed up in the 2012 to 2017 show of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. She's like the director out there. She's done a bunch of other work. She made a lot of Cartoon Network this way. She's really important. Facts. You got any closing thoughts?
What is it? 4 really good shows.
4 really good shows.
I think we said it earlier, like Batman just kind of kicked it off, but yeah, they just created this universe where they just really played off each other well. Looking back on it, I would have loved to see Static in the Justice League.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know if those shows, I guess they were airing at the same time.
They were, or like they were really close to each other.
Yeah.
One of the two. Yeah.
I know they had crossovers.
Technically, he does join the Justice League, just not this one.
Later, Future Justice League.
Yeah.
But yeah, just really great shows. Great shows from childhood. Great DC shows.
Hell yeah. Go back and watch it.
Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, if you're still quarantined or just looking for nostalgia, definitely search out those shows.
There's even one episode that I remember where Green Lantern John goes back to his neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of chills out there and sees how things have changed. And the episode that I talked about earlier when they are in another dimension and it's all the superheroes that he read in comics.
Yeah.
And he was like, you have no idea how much of an honor it was to read about my heroes.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really cool.
Oh, I remember that episode.
Yeah, and then they explained it in one short sentence of like, how are these people in this dimension if you read about them in comic books? Is like, well, imaginative minds just get a conduit for certain things. And I'm like, okay, y'all explained that way too easily for the show. After this talk, especially, I'm interested to go back to see even the Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
And just go back and watch some old episodes and be like, what's it like to see it with older eyes?
Yeah, definitely. Kind of explore it.
Apparently you can watch it with a DC subscription and everything else you have to pay.
Yeah, that's our society right
That
now.
is how it works in 2020. It's either you stream or you don't watch. And or you buy the DVDs for it. That's how we're going to end it too.